So before I even take a question, I want to address what seems to be a topic that one of you guys may ask on, just Savoy, just so everybody has some clarity on Savoy. I spoke after the game in regard to Matty. He was injured during camp. Unfortunately, the way the rules sit, we were going to have to send him back to junior or keep him on a roster, one of our 23 roster spots. We were able to, from the time he got injured, we felt, the more experience, unfortunate with these young players, training camp is a huge growth experience for the player. We have a guy that we love as a prospect and a player. We were sitting here, he's going to miss the entire training camp because of injury. So we brainstorming, you figure, how can we keep him around? He had to take one of the 23 roster spots. We were able to get him to Rochester for 6 games instead of, as mandated, send him back to junior. And from that point, we said, if there's injuries on the 23-man roster, we're going to try to get him a game, maybe more, to get some feel that he missed in training camp where he would have played 5 or 6 preseason games. We had that opportunity. It was the Minnesota game. Obviously, that game was a very tight game. It started with trading power plays and penalty kills, and as that game went along, I did not feel comfortable as a coach putting him in a spot where it was a tight game and him being on the ice for a mistake against. I didn't think he had enough practice time, and unfortunate because of the injuries, and I didn't want that to happen to him. So that was a personal decision for me. And obviously with Samuelson coming back, we no longer had a roster spot the next night. So all of those things were the circumstances behind decisions. But the biggest thing we were happy about is we could keep him around longer for the value of gaining experience. And that is the most important thing. And we're very happy that he was able to do that. We'd love for things to work out even more and more. But the situation was what it was, and we had to do what we did.
Given when you make the decision, you inform Matt that he's going back to junior. What's the message to him on what he could take away from? Obviously, that's not the debut that he envisioned, but to go back to junior, what message did you and Kevin want to impress upon him as he left? So he's in a good frame of mind and feeling good about what he had accomplished in practices and during his time in Rochester.
There was plenty there was excitement, and certainly in my voice and Kevin's, that we have him in our organization. And I think he feels that we are pretty excited that we drafted him, pretty excited that he's with us. And real excited about his future. So, the message flowed in that manner, and then obviously we explained what I explained to the room here. Pretty similar. We were faced with the daunting reality that we were going to have to send this guy back to junior when training camp ended, and we brainstormed and said, how do we not send him back? How do we prolong him skating out here in practices, and we were able to get the American League game. So we explained it to him just like that. Our hands were tied with the way the rules are. We absolutely would love to have him in Rochester the whole year and being a call-up, but the rules don't allow for us to do that because he has junior eligibility, and we are mandated to send him back to his junior team. That's out of our control.
He was dominant last year in junior, and I'm sure he will be this year. I mean, he's a dominating player there. So for him, how does he get better in that situation where he already dominates the game down there, but how does he get better and make himself a better player?
It's a great question, Paul, and it's a great question because that is exactly why we wanted him here longer, so he can learn and see things that he needs to work on down there. So if he would have went back right with no experience skating in practice with the speed of our NHL players and goaltenders, and then just a little bit of feel in a game, he'd go back to junior and he had no vision of what the NHL is. So he'd be working on the same things he was working on. We tried to give him as much hindsight and insight as possible knowing that by the rules we were supposed to send him back, right away, unless we could add him to a 23-man roster. Now he has that hindsight and insight, so he goes back to junior. He can focus and say, okay, I know I have to protect the puck here. I know I have to read the situation this way because I've seen it. And that was really, really important. If he's going to go back to junior where he's been for 5 years or 4 years, and I think this is his 5th, it's the same old, same old. And we didn't want that. We fought hard to give him an opportunity. So now when he goes back, he actually has a better perspective on what he needs to work on.
How did he handle the news? I mean, he's obviously had kind of an up and down, like with the injury, and then just waiting a while to get into the lineup. How was he with the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm sure, after, in front of us, obviously, he was great. He was, he's a happy by nature guy. And he's, as I told you a year ago when we sent Jack Quinn down, he said, in some respects, I'm glad because I know I need to work on some things. And my standard, I got to get to a higher standard. And I think you sense Matty has that same significance. In all likelihood, he knew at some point he was probably going to have to go back and play junior based on our depth and where we are as a team right now. So I think he was happy for the opportunities, and I think he was very dialed in to soak it up.
Was there any thought to giving him a longer run to see if he could kind of absorb more and earn a spot?
Lots of thought to it. Lots of thought, and we wanted to. Again, you get into that Minnesota game, you guys know it. I mean, let's face it, after a game, how many times you say, well, you lost that, you didn't play well here, you didn't do this. Can you imagine if you play a young guy out there in a 1-0 game or a 1-1 game and he makes a mistake? And there were some things that, and you don't want to put the guy in that situation. And we're much different than we were 1 year ago, and I've said that a lot. We have to play to win with greater emphasis. A year ago, 2 years ago, we had to look in the mirror and say, hey, we're going to try to win every night, but we have to get better. And now it's, now we have to find ways to win every night. It's not about, as much of a future. We've invested in guys like Thompson and Middlestead and Dahlin to the point where they've developed. And, you go in these games now and you're trying to find any edge possible to win. And you've seen me shorten the bench a lot this year. And you haven't seen me do that in past years. It's different. You coach different situations. And like I said, for Matty, I didn't want to get him personally and involved in making a mistake at a time that we needed those 2 points.
Injuries are part of it, I know, Don, but what's your level of concern just about secondary scoring? You've had guys move in and out of the lineup, but you've got a handful of guys who don't have a goal yet this season.
Yeah, everybody's going to want more scoring and secondary scoring. I believe we're capable, and I believe there's lots of other things, I guess, that would concern me ahead of that. I think when other things resolve, that'll come back, power play being one of them, which I'm glad I mentioned it before you guys do, because it's no matter how much it aggravates you, it probably aggravates me more. You saw us work on it again today to tweak things, and I do, but the scoring on this team, I think, is there. It's proven to be there, and I think when we get some other things right, that'll be a natural consequence.
How much of this experience with Matt Savoy is going to be used going forward with Zach Benson now as he's rehabbing and getting back?
2 totally different players, I think. So I think every guy's different, every situation's different. So I just don't think it's even fair to think one, and you're going to do the same thing with another. We'll evaluate everything separately with every guy, as we always do, really. Like I've said, some guys are 20 years old, but they're further than the next 20-year-old. Don't throw this guy's a 20-year-old, so they're all like all 20-year-olds. Some guys have, they all deserve to be treated, for their unique attributes as well.
Alex isn't there yet. Wasn't a practice.
Yeah, Alex, I mentioned from the outset he's day-to-day. So the issue he's dealing with could have resolved in, say, 48 hours. It hasn't resolved yet, and we are waiting. He is waiting for it to resolve. So he has full mobility and full motion, and it's still so he remains in a day-to-day. I would be, from the progress to this point to today, which he's shown progress over the weekend, lots of progress. I would say Friday's a very good target for him. So he was close today, is why I say that.
How close is Benson and Byro to being available?
They just jumped back into full practice, so we like to have them have more than one day of that jump back. But they both went through it very comfortable today, so that's good news. So we obviously play tomorrow. We have a couple more practices. We'll make a decision right about then. I would suspect after them going through the two practices we have, we'll feel comfortable answering that question.
Kyle's getting a milestone tomorrow, 1,000 games. What does it mean to you to see him hit that mark?
It's when a player hits 1,000 games, you have some of these guys are Ironmans and they play 800 straight games, and then most of the guys in their career have lots of injuries and in different organizations and highs from the time they were drafted, where he was in the top of the first round. You have so many emotional highs and then lows, and like I said, injuries through the years. So to get to 1,000, he's been through a lot, and his family's been through a lot. Any player, and for me, obviously my first stint in the NHL as a head coach, dating back a couple of years now, and having him for me from day one, he was very special to me then, and remains that way, and to our organization. So to be a part of it for me is really nice.
I guess why is he so special to you?
Well, again, I took over this, assumed this position on an interim basis, and you obviously the speed at which you do things as a coach. It's can you get information to your players? Can you bring clarity to your players? And the faster you can do that, the more efficient you are, the more impact you can be. And he helped me tremendously in that. And it was fast. As you guys know from stories dating back to the first game that we won when I was an interim coach, and the text messages from him even the night before, we're going to win tomorrow, to me. So, he's been instrumental in helping me convey messages and giving me feedback as well. We had a long talk this morning about, where our team is at, both physically and psychologically, and great conversation. I bet you we talked for 25 minutes this morning. And easy conversations. So.
How has he evolved as an NHL player from when he was drafted by the Islanders and showed up as a rookie, and now as a 35-year-old veteran captain leader? How has he evolved as a player to stay in the NHL this long?
Yeah, well, I don't know the answer specific because I wasn't with him through his whole career, but the key word that you used or term is evolve, and you cannot play in this league at his age without evolving your game. You talk about young guys and you say, okay, this guy's got to get better. He's got to improve in here and here and here. The older guys have to evolve because their body is not the same as it was when they were 25 in their prime. And the guys that evolve and learn how to play differently stay in the game. The guys that still try to play like they're 25 and they're 30, they end up squeezed out of the game pretty quick. And so for Kyle, he has really evolved his game. Even from last season to this season, you guys can ask him, his training was completely different, or he added different things to his training to change body composition based on information he gained from last year going through the season. So, it's you evolve and you learn to evolve.
Did you know him before you took over as coach?
No, just only as a player, not as a person. So the answer is no. Good to see you back there, Brian, by the way. Yeah.
Nice to see you. When you mentioned the power play, obviously the game's kind of trended to one defenseman, four forwards, but you had Jokiharju and Power out there the other night, and you had more chances created by that. I'm wondering how open you are to constantly maybe considering two defensemen out there on a power play unit.
We have to consider a lot of things, Brian. So again, yeah, I'm open to. We need to it's the first unit, and they're creating chances, but they're not winning enough faceoffs. We're not winning enough faceoffs with that first unit. So then that puts us, usually the puck's cleared and you're down, and we haven't been entering the zone well enough. So now those things they add pressure and they cause players to press. We're getting looks, but by the time we get the look, it's almost as if our guys are frustrated and a little tighter. So, the psyche is taking a hit. I think we're still generating, we could have scored a lot more, but I don't know that the psyche was strong enough by the time we finally generated that chance on the first unit. Second unit has gotten much less time, but they've had less challenge. They've actually created more, as you reference Yokoharu. That second unit, even without Yoki the other night, who was really good, has actually possessed the puck better than the first unit to this point, or recently. So, you have different personnel and greater skill levels definitely help, but you still have to do core things. Create your 2-on-1s, and I think our degree of difficulty on the first power play, specifically with entering the zone, we're relying on our skill too much, not the fact that we have 5 and they have 4. And that is not uncommon with lots of power plays. Lots of power plays are loaded with skill and talented players, and when they get frustrated, they instantly try to impose their will on it, and it usually doesn't work out. It's a 1-on-1 instead of a 5-on-4. We've had a challenge with that. So, yeah, we'll look at all different things. I didn't mind Yokoharu there. We put Peterka there on that flank today in practice, and he's good there. He's a talented guy, so that actually looked good. And Victor was on the other side of that second unit.
Hey guys, last one. We gotta get Kyle in.
You mentioned face-offs. Is that something where it's getting to the point where maybe you guys are going to have to add somebody who is better at face-offs than what you have?
I don't even want to go there right now, Paul. My mind's got to be on right now and what we have and what we work with. But I do think there's things we can do now that'll help. We've been taking on one side, maybe we switch to the other side and talk about different things. But we'll address it that way before we even consider anything else. Thanks.